Serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 5.
But I don't know if she's going to want to go tomorrow. And my advice is to her, don't go until you get an all clear and we know that there's nothing wrong. Don't go.
School officials in Thief River Falls are saying that today was a normal school day. This despite a potential threat causing many students to stay home. Children's safety while at school is on every parent's mind. But there has been a recent spike in school threats across the country, and schools aren't taking any chances. Tonight, Valley News Team's Melanie Palmer takes a look at Cass Central High School, where renovations are underway, with safety being the #1 priority.
Bomb threats at U.S. schools have doubled in 1 year, and there have been over 200 school shooting incidents since 2012. So what have schools in our area done to step up security?
Access to school buildings is very important, so we try to monitor every single individual that enters into the school building. We have a check-in system in the office. We have security cameras on the doors that help us monitor who comes in and out of the school building.
And that's not all. Fornes says they take a proactive approach by educating students on all safety protocols. A new building project is underway at Central Cass High School. Safety is the leading component behind the renovations.
We will be actually having outside guests enter directly into the office. So that'll be a part of our new design so that they'll come through the office first and foremost, and then go to their places in the school that they have business doing.
Even with new designs, schools can still see threats. At Lincoln High School in Thief River Falls, a potential threat was made to the school, and a grandmother of a student isn't happy with the school's approach to the incident.
I'd like to know when the threat came in. How long did they know before they even bothered to text the parents, things like that.
The parents were notified of the possible threat Monday evening. The threat mentions the possibility of someone coming into the school with a firearm with intent to do great harm. This woman claims her granddaughter has been scared to go to school for the past 2 days.
I don't want her going back until they know that there's nothing happening.
The Lincoln High School superintendent says they have been working closely with law enforcement and had a plan in place for the school day. In Castleton, Melanie Palmer, Valley News Live.
Lincoln High School Superintendent Bradley Bergstrom says that attendance was down today, but everything was quiet with no problems. Snow arrived this morning, and it sounds like we've got more on the way. Hutch, are we looking at a little or a lot for this evening?
Well, for the most part, it's going to be a little, relatively speaking, but we can certainly see on the radar the bands moving into the eastern third of North Dakota and western Minnesota. Down to the south, some rain mixing in where temperatures are warm enough for that. Now, it does look like we're going to see the snow potential increase or be at its most in that 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock hour and then start to dry up a bit as we head into the overnight hours. Temperatures fairly steady and not a ton of wind to be concerned about, but still another inch or so of snow possible across many of our northern and central counties. Snow chances decrease after 10 o'clock tonight as temperatures slowly slide through the 30s here in Fargo, and will be in the low 30s in Grand Forks with you can see there wet streets that could become slippery as we freeze overnight. I'll have details on what we can expect as we glide into our Thursday on what has become a snowy week for many of us here in the valley.
All right, thanks, Hutch.
You bet.
We're following a developing story after a reported robbery early this morning in Fargo. Police spoke with a woman at around 4:45 a.m. who said her son was assaulted by 3 men outside of his apartment just northeast of 13th Avenue and 45th Street and was then forced to drive them to Grand Forks in his vehicle. At some point, the men stole personal property from the victim. Once in Grand Forks, they had the victim drop them off at an apartment complex. The victim then went to a Grand Forks emergency room to be treated for injuries. Both Fargo and Grand Forks police are investigating. They're not yet releasing any more details on the case. A Minnesota man is dead and his female passenger dealing with life-threatening injuries after a head-on crash in Otter Tail County. Authorities say 22-year-old Marissa Roden of Henning was driving on a county road just north of Parker's Prairie around 8 this morning when she lost control of her vehicle on icy roads and hit a pickup head-on. The driver of the pickup, a 71-year-old man from Headon, was killed. His passenger, a 74-year-old woman from Headon, suffered life-threatening injuries and was airlifted to a hospital. Roden suffered minor injuries. Authorities have not yet released the names of the couple in the pickup. One of the victims was not wearing a seatbelt, authorities said. We have breaking new details in the investigation of the terror attack in New York. The FBI is now asking the public for information about another Uzbekistan national tied to the attack. The agency is looking for tips on 32-year-old Muhammador Kadrira. Authorities have released new details about the suspect, who is accused of carrying out the deadliest terror attack in New York City since 9/11. 8 people, many of them foreigners, were killed just blocks from the World Trade Center Memorial. Meg Oliver is in Lower Manhattan with the very latest.
Police towed away the mangled rental truck used in the deadly terrorist attack in Lower Manhattan. They recovered handwritten notes in Arabic left at the crime scene. They say the suspect, 29-year-old Saifulo Saipov, bragged about his plan and praised ISIS.
He appears to have followed almost exactly to a T the instructions that ISIS has put out.
Investigators say the ISIS sympathizer drove down a bike path on the West Side Highway, mowing down everyone in his path for 0.8 of a mile until he crashed into a school bus packed with children. Police think Saipov had been planning the attack for weeks.
My administration is coordinating closely between federal and local officials to investigate the attack and to further investigate this animal.
Investigators are conducting a block-by-block search of this area to collect evidence and video to reconstruct the timeline. Streets will remain closed well into the night, but for people who live nearby, they say it's a minor inconvenience.
A little bit scary, but that's not going to stop New Yorkers from riding, on that bike path at all. New York is more resilient than that.
28-year-old New York City police officer Ryan Nash, who shot the suspect, is being called a humble hero.
Ryan stopped that threat immediately. We owe him a great debt of gratitude.
CBS News has learned that Saipov came to the U.S. on a green card from Uzbekistan 7 years ago. Meg Oliver, CBS News, New York.
Authorities say since 9/11, they have prevented 24 plots against the city. The release of a trove of Facebook ads bought by a Russian firm is showing a clear attempt to target the information to certain agencies. The ads were released today as representatives of leading social media companies faced criticism on Capitol Hill about why they hadn't done more to combat Russian interference on their sites and prevent foreign agents from meddling in last year's election. Many of the ads purchased during the 2016 election focused on divisive social issues like immigration and gay rights. In preparation for hearings this week, Facebook disclosed that content generated by a Russian group, the Internet Research Agency, potentially reached as many as 126 million users. Twitter also disclosed that it has uncovered and shut down over 2,700 accounts linked to the same group. Remember to like Valley News Live on Facebook. You can follow the latest news, weather, and breaking news updates anytime on your feed. Just search Valley News Live, like our page, and you'll stay informed throughout the entire day. In the mountainous resort town of Pyeongchang, billboards and banners greet visitors with a slogan for the upcoming Olympics. The town expects the Games in February next year to bring a boost to tourism, even as political tensions with Beijing will likely see a drop in Chinese visitors. With the Olympics 100 days away, Pyeongchang is in a full makeover mode, renovating roads and buildings and deploying menus in English, Chinese, and Japanese, hoping for a last-minute surge in tourists. South Korea will host its first ever Winter Olympics with event venues only 50 miles from the border with North Korea. NBC will be your host for the total coverage of the Winter Games, beginning with the opening ceremony on February 9th. A local dentist's office is doing their part to preserve kids' teeth and at the same time saying thanks to those who serve in the military. From 1 to 5 today, Dakota Pediatric Dentistry held their Operation Candy Buyback, giving kids $1 per pound of candy they brought in. By mid-afternoon, they had already given out $30. All the candy collected today will be sent to servicemen and women serving overseas.
A lot of families are really appreciative to help. You know, they enjoy that it's going to a good cause. We're supporting our troops overseas, and they're able to get a couple dollars to maybe go get a toy or something that they want.
It's the third year of Operation Gratitude, and kids could cash in at the Grand Forks location too. Instead of going